Mmm, yummy, yummy.
Hello and welcome back to the Baffled Egg channel, here with another horror video. Today's topic is arguably the best Christmas horror movie ever made, Gremlins.
What a classic. Released in 1984, directed by Joe Dante, starring Zachary Gilligan, Phoebe Cates, a young Corey Feldman, Howie Mandel, Frank Welker, and Mike from Breaking Bad. These little devils set the template for Christmas horror movies. If you don't have the heart, joy, humor, warmth, disgustingness, and number one bit comedy of Gremlins, why even release your movie?
Of course, this video is going to speak very highly of Gremlins since the new batch is probably in my top 5 movies of all time. And I watch Gremlins every December and have been for the past 20 years.
The way that the first little bit of this movie is a perfect Christmas movie on its own, with a likable protagonist, the music, the pure white setting, the run through the street, the relatable problems, the over-the-top evil old lady that probably would have been the main villain if the Gremlins didn't send her rocketing up 50 flights of stairs and flying through a window at 100 miles an hour. Then that cute little guy Gizmo comes in.
Everyone else wanted Gizmo when they were younger, right?
Like, even with the responsibility and terrible consequences, toys weren't enough. He needed to be real. Anyways, Billy is given Gizmo as a present from his inventor father who was out trying to sell some crappy products in Chinatown. How old is Billy meant to be? He works at a bank, but he's a bank teller, which I imagine wouldn't have been a difficult job to acquire in the 80s. And he gets made fun of for drawing as a hobby and not focusing on his career, so he must be into his 20s by now. But then he still lives at home with his parents and his children toys in his stockings. Maybe he lives at home to help his mother with his bills, considering his dad's inventions aren't the best. Huh. I never thought of it that way. Billy peers inside the box, and inside is this cute, cuddly creature called a mogwai,
Cantonese for devil, by the way.
which they named Gizmo. Has anyone ever noticed that
No. No more tangents.
Gizmo is so cute? Amazing puppet work and design by Chris Wallace and Rick Baker. And this is where we hear the rules. Don't expose it to sunlight. Don't let it get into contact with water. Don't ever feed it after midnight. Have you ever heard the phrase, a dog isn't just for Christmas? I've never seen this phrase specifically mentioned in relation to this movie, but I think it's worth a mention. All these rules, the fact they have to care for it, the fact that Gizmo's taken away is proven that Billy cannot handle the responsibility of owning a mogwai. Why do I bring this up? Well, I recently heard from an acquaintance of mine that Gremlins isn't a Christmas movie. I know. Very stupid, right? Well, the argument is that it's not a Christmas movie, but a movie that takes place at Christmas. Well, what about that metaphor, huh? What about the anti-capitalist undertones of the movie? How Mr. Futterman makes comments on how the US has been importing lower quality foreign machinery and how the Gremlins make these machines inferior, considering at the time, yes, the US was moving manufacturing to Mexico and imported everything from China. Also the fact that Billy's dad's inventions work for the first couple of weeks, then go all haywire. Planned obsolescence much? Maybe a bit of a stretch, but the fact that Gizmo is taken back at the end could refer to the disposable nature of Christmas gifts and how pets are special for the first couple of months, then get mistreated and resold or abandoned. Even more of a stretch, but Gremlins is a very anti-Christmas Christmas movie. It relies on the stereotype of Chinese counterfeit culture. Gizmo comes from an elderly Chinese man, which Mr. Peltzer planned to have one in every home and would eventually replace the family dog. Sorry, Barney. Gizmo himself is essentially a Trojan horse, a cute little guy hiding behind his exterior, dangerous creatures that represent chaos and destruction. Phoebe Cates works at the bar for free, and Corey Feldman, a child, is single-handedly delivering massive Christmas trees door to door. Maybe that's a comment on the forced labor and how exploitative business owners are on their employees, especially during the busy season. Phoebe Cates tells the most depressing story of how her father broke his neck on Christmas Eve, slipping down the chimney dressed as Santa Claus, which is completely absurd and represents this obsession with Christmas the West has, and how we will go to extreme lengths in the name of the holiday to make the most perfect Christmas. As she says, you're not allowed to dislike Christmas, and you're a weirdo if you don't participate in it. It's the perfect holiday where everyone has to be joyful and full of cheer. So what happens when a clusterfuck of Chinese creatures come in and ruin everything? Wow. That was a lot more deconstruction than I planned for this video. We get some fun little scenes of Billy and Gizmo hanging out until
Oh no!
Gizmo gets to experience the joy of motherhood when Corey Feldman accidentally spills some water on him. Come into the fold, Stripe and his goons.
The cheekiest sumbitches in horror history.
And these guys pester Gizmo. And this is where they get the line mentioned earlier about mass producing the unique thing for profit. Starting to sound like you support puppy farms there, Mr. Peltzer. Billy then feeds these new mogwais some cold chicken, thinking it's not yet midnight, and it's at this point that we are finally getting to the birth of the Gremlins. And I hate seeing this brought up constantly still, but what is midnight? Technically, it's always after midnight.
Shut up.
They dress and poke fun at this in Gremlins 2 with time zones and airplanes and shit, but in my own headcanon, the after midnight clock resets after a rest. So say these guys fall asleep around 1, which is well done after midnight, and wake up around say 8. It's a new day and no longer after midnight, but 16 hours before the next midnight. After a short bit with the gremlins in a cocoon, like a butterfly, which is very alien, we get our first scene with the gremlin, which is surprisingly contained considering everything else that happens in the rest of the movie. We hardly see anything of this gremlin, much like in Jaws. The science teacher is killed, and we get some very fun scenes that set the tone for the rest of the movie. A fun little chase scene with Billy and a pissed off gremlin and Mrs. Peltzer and a whole bunch of gremlins in the house. Fucking awesome scenes, by the way. I mean, any scene with the gremlins is awesome, but as an introduction to their antics and goofiness, this scene is great. One gremlin gets blended, one gets microwaved. Ugh, absolute perfection. Also, you'd make a badass final girl, Mrs. Peltzer.
Go you.
These scenes are where we are first introduced to how these gremlins operate. All they know is Dory's Tavern, drink they beer, laugh, be annoying, throw shit around, and die. Die horrible, gruesome, bloody deaths. They just want to be, man. They just want to fuck around. These guys are having the absolute time of their lives. It's more prominent in the sequel, but the gremlins are the ultimate bit comedians. Sorry, Auntie Donna, but these guys can fucking commit. Since Greta Gremlin is canonically the only female gremlin, one gremlin dresses in feminine presenting clothing just so that he can play the stereotypical beautiful gangster girlfriend to Stripe's mob boss, to flesh out the poker bit a little bit. Mad respect. One gremlin in the second one gets some acid chucked in his face, so he just becomes a Phantom of the Opera. I'll try to stop talking about Gremlins 2 so much since I really want to make a separate video, but it's really hard not to. Not just because it's an awesome movie, but because everything great in this movie is expanded upon and made better in the next one. Should I get back to the movie? What happens next? Oh yeah.
They drive a fucking truck through the Futterman's fucking house.
Insane shit. These guys do not give a flying fuck. While Stripe is sneaking around and messing around with cables and shit, the other gremlins take time out of their mayhem spree to find scarves, earmuffs, and little Santa hats so that they can dress up and carol outside the old lady's house, having a little Christmas ball while scaring the fuck out of her. If they didn't throw her out of a window, they were definitely planning on making her weak old heart give out, like the scene in Child's Play 2. These guys truly love and embrace the holiday, using it as a theme for their destruction. Next would probably be the bar scene at Dory's Tavern, probably the best scene in the entire movie. You've got the flasher gremlin, you've got the gremlin smoking 5 cigarettes at a time, you've got the gremlin swinging from the ceiling fan, you've got the gremlin that cheats at cards and gets shot, you've got the gremlins just having a good old time being buddies, you've just got a gremlin with a gun that can't shoot for shit, you've got Phoebe Cates tending bar, just swapping beers around instead of pouring more. These gremlins don't care, they just want to terrorize her and do some fun bar antics.
God, I love these guys.
They all go to the theater after Billy and Phoebe Cates fuck off on foot, since Billy's Volkswagen Beetle, made in Germany, breaks down for the second time and enjoy a little screening of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They love it. What was out in 1984? What if the Gremlins were able to get their hands on a reel for Friday the 13th Part 4? They would have loved that shit as well. Although the cinema was already in complete chaos, imagine what it would have been like for that movie. They would have gone outside, ignored all the hijinks, and just started tearing people limb from fucking limb. Forget messing with traffic lights, they'd be swinging around machetes going in their silly little voices. Anyway, Billy leaks some gas, Stripe fucks off to go get some more tasty snacks, and all the gremlins are confined to a single location and get blown the fuck up. It's funny watching this scene because most of the puppets they use don't have any mechanics inside of them, so they're just jumping up and down across the screen, and when the back door is closed on them, their arms are just being stuck through the gap and waved about.
Love it.
Protagonists and Gizmo then go over to the toy store to stop Stripe from producing more offspring, and Billy breaks the store window with a little Tykes toy. Cheap plastic breaks the window.
Hell yeah. Commercialism.
They run around the store, dodging saw blades. Gizmo drives a little car around. So cute. Stripe is nearly able to make more gremlins, but the gang are able to get some sunlight into this garden area, while Gizmo is hiding in some bushes. And Stripe fucking melts. He turns into complete goop. Amazing effects here. Holy shit. His skin gets all sunken, then he becomes a skeleton, then he just turns into breathing, bubbling green goo. Even Barney the dog knows that this is freaky as shit, and they all go back home and have a nice little Christmas with everyone still alive, despite all the trauma and years of therapy they'll need to go through, and dozens of dead bodies still undiscovered, decomposing. And then the old guy comes back to see Gizmo, sees what's happened briefly on the news, and gets all pissy about blah blah responsibility or whatever. He takes Gizmo back home, and we get the first proper spoken words from Gizmo in the whole movie, where he says, "Bye, Billy." Oh god. My heart starting to tear up just thinking about it. So sad. They leave, and we get the closing monologue about how Gremlins could be messing around with us, the audience, because they're always just going to be pesky little shits. And he walks off into the snow. Amazing map painting as well. The last time I was watching, I tried to figure out where it was, but he kept walking past where I thought the set ended. I reckon it's right before the screen fades to black. And that's the end of the movie. My god, how beautiful. The perfect Christmas film. There's very truly great Christmas horror movies. Most of them are either awful or just fine. There are a few standouts, but this is a great gateway horror for older kids to get into the genre. It's just so funny and awesome. Go watch it. Again. Right now. Even if you just watched it yesterday.
Anyways, that's the end of this. If you liked it, like, share, subscribe, comment. Any ideas you may have for any video topics you might like me to cover, any suggestion is really appreciated. You can go check out my previous video where I talked about horror requels and my problems with them, or ranted about my problems with horror requels. That's in the description, or if you want you can just go check out my channel and you can go watch the Gnomes video that's up there that I helped my friend create. This is a variety channel where I'll be posting a bunch of stuff, some skits, bits, sketches, some stuff from college, some shorts, just random shit, and more video essays like this, and more horror stuff like this video here. The next video won't be super related to horror, it's a bit gory, but I can tell you it's a little bit otherworldly. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, and if you made it this far, thank you, and see you later, losers.